The earth sleeps and slumbers, lullaby by the sounds of peace and safety. The earth sleeps and slumbers, lullaby, lullaby, lullaby. The earth sleeps and slumbers, lullaby by the sounds of peace and safety. The earth sleeps and slumbers, lullaby, lullaby, lullaby. There's a calm before the storm.
Hi, I'm Ted of the Fish Family, and joining me tonight is Terry Renner, and we're going to discuss March and On, peace and safety, as in the days of Noah, and we're going to take a look at the articles that are on alternativemedia.ca, and we'll begin with Obama high treason, closing the air defense system on the Mexican border, Obama's visit to Israel, on a donkey 6 days before Passover. The U.S. is the great Satan and Israel the little Satan out of Netanyahu's mouth. Skull and Bones 322. Microchip implants coming 323. The spring equinox, where there are rituals, satanic rituals, and human and animal sacrifice on 321. The Halliburton oil well leak in the Gulf, and what's Halliburton doing again? The last time they were there, we had the Gulf disaster. The Carnival cruise from hell. What a coincidence. The Louisiana sinkhole. Meteor activity. Generators for New Orleans. The Orpheus parade at the Mardi Gras with the Trojan horse showing its head there. Beware the Ides of March. Pope Benedict's resignation. Israel sold Jerusalem to the Vatican. The Third Temple. Jacob's Trouble. The Georgia Guidestones erected March 22nd, 1980, 33 years ago. And Daniel's Timeline, March 21st. But first, we're going to discuss the days of Noah. So if you get your scripture out and you turn to Genesis 6, I believe, then you can follow along what Pastor Terry will have to say about the days of Noah. Now, we're only going to talk opinion. We only suspect these articles or these events might happen, and that's why I post them. Give everybody a heads up. Without the heads up, maybe it'll be too late. So you get to make some choices before these possible events. And so I would really take a look at what kind of choices you're making right now.
Today is the day of salvation. Today is the day of preparation. Now is the time.
It's too late
to go deep in my word. To walk in the Spirit. To say yes to me today.
Don't
wait. It's later than you think.
And when the rain starts falling, it's too late.
Well, I just love that song. Anyway, when the rain starts falling, it's too late. And nobody believed Noah either. And, I've been called worse. So if they call me Noah the Second for trying to get the word out and warning everybody, so be it. Anyway, Pastor, we want to discuss the days of Noah. And how was it? Why did Yahushua warn us about as it was in the days of Noah?
Well, Yahushua was talking to his disciples, and the reason he even brought it up was because the disciples was bringing it up. They had questions themselves. Probably more likely, not only did they have questions, but people was probably even asking them. And but it goes right back to what we kind of covered on one of our other videos, where in Matthew chapter 24, verse 4, where Yahushua was answering and was telling the disciples and stuff. He says, take heed that no man deceive you, because there was going to be a lot of things that was going to be going on, wars and rumors of war. He said, don't be troubled when that happens, because the end isn't near yet. He talked about nation rising against nation, kingdom against kingdom, famines, pestilence, earthquakes in divers places. But in verse 20, in chapter 24, verse 28, he says, all these are the beginning of sorrows, all these things I just mentioned. And he says, then they'll deliver you up to be afflicted and stuff. But that's what I'm saying. When you get to reading the scriptures, I'll tell you what, your eyes start to be opened. Your eyes start to be opened. And
so, as in the days of Noah, in previous conversations and in previous looking at other stuff, we talked about giants, and we know there were giants back in those days. I think they were, David and Goliath is the most famous example of a giant in the Bible. That's the one that everybody can remember. So, and they're discovering giant bones all over the world now. And so who were these giants?
Well, they were called the Nephilim, or Nephilim, however you want to pronounce it. Either way, they were offspring of these fallen angels that came down and laid with the daughters of men. And when that happened, they had these offsprings, and like you said, they've even found bones where a lot of them would be as much as 36 feet tall. I've seen a picture. I was told it was real. Then what checking you've done, you find out, that it was, where they had a dozer at the top of this one gravesite they found, and next to this skull. And that particular giant, all the bones were together and everything and stuff, and that giant was 36 feet tall, and they had another one where a man and a woman skeletons were side by side in a single grave. And when the scripture talks about it, it's true. But here's the other thing you got to keep in mind. Everybody looks at these giants and, this is what's going to happen. We're going to be fighting giants and everything. Not to say that we aren't. But the big thing you got to look at is the DNA manipulation. When you get into a real full study of what really happened in the Garden of Eden, you begin to understand that right from the get-go, Satan was trying, from that very point on, his sole purpose was to contaminate Yahuwah's creation, whether it's man. Go ahead.
Well, he's done a pretty good job. Because all we have to do is look up in the sky and, he's contaminating Yahuwah's creation 24/7, 365. And everybody thinks it's for geoengineering. And, I'd just like to mention that, I don't believe in geoengineering, and I believe chemtrails are for sickness and death and destroy the entire creation. It destroys the water, it destroys the vegetation, it destroys the plants, and it destroys the animals and us as well. But that may not be all. It may be contributing to our DNA changes as well. And And so we're in the days of Noah in that sense, where, our DNA is being manipulated without our knowledge, really. And it has been for quite some time. People are awake now. The other thing that really affects our DNA, I believe, because now they're making genetically modified vaccines as well. Not that they weren't harmful before, but I think before they only trying to make you sick in the long term so that you wouldn't live so long, or, you'd be maimed in some way. But now they're making it genetically modified. So there's some horror going to evolve as a result of these vaccinations. Absolute horror. Maybe there will be giants as a result of the vaccination. Who knows what's going to happen? But when they throw genetically modified stuff into various animals, and they, sheep start to grow cow heads, etc. It takes us back to the mystical gods of old. And that's what they're doing. I've heard there are hybrid humans in different places, and satanic super soldiers, and I haven't seen them myself, so this is only somebody else's opinion. I'm not sure if they've seen them, but I think there's a lot of that stuff going on, as in the days of Noah.
Well, there is, and I'll give you a prime example. You look at old photographs at the men, women, children back during the 1800s into the early 1900s. The average man stood right around between 5'6" and 5'8" tall, and the average woman was a lot smaller than she is now also. And you look at our children. Look at our children. They've been pumped full of this, this chemical-filled air, this fluorinated water, these GMO foods. I mean, my children, we have 7 children, and out of 7 children, only one daughter is actually 5'8", and all the other ones are 6 foot or taller. Now, I don't have any genes in me at no 6'1", 6'2", 6'4" inches, and you see, all of our children. I mean, we got kids dunking the basketball in junior high school. I mean, for crying out loud. Exactly. They're going to have to raise the rim here, from 10 feet to 12 feet to make the game more fair, instead of, they're playing kickball right now with the basketball.
Everybody looks at that like, oh, we're just getting healthier and mightier, and we're eating the right foods, right? The right foods. We're eating the right foods, I guess, to make us giants. I don't know, but anyway, we're eating the right foods, and but it's in the United States, especially the what do they call that? The length that you live. Right. Life expectancy has been reduced by about 10 years in the last 10 or 15 years. And now that's got to be due to the chemtrail spraying and the GMOs and the fluoride and all these combined. Plus, they're all taking big pharma sorcery pills and doing the rest of it. So, I'm not sure that. I think people ought to watch what they're eating, what they're putting into their bodies, whether it be water, food, air. Clean your air, clean your water, and give yourself a chance. Because I read an article, maybe it was today or yesterday, that girls are reaching puberty at 7 years old, yes. and boys are having small penises, and. This is all genetic modification of the human race. This is actually destroying us as a human race, and that's why I believe Yahuwah's coming back to take care of business, and because he's not going to tolerate Satan destroying his creation, and neither should we. That's why we have to say things and fight back.